Let's get into rankings here today, Joe. Week 12. Who do you have in your top 12 or top 11 in G5 team this week going into week 12?
All right, I'm ready to cause some problems here. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, Texas A&M. 4, Alabama. 5, Texas Tech. 6, Georgia. 7, Ole Miss. 8, Oregon. 9, Notre Dame. 10, USC. 11, Texas. And my G5 pick, it's got to be JMU.
My top 12 here as it stands. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Texas A&M. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4, Indiana. Number 5, Georgia. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 7, Oregon. Number 8, Notre Dame. Number 9, Texas. Number 10, Texas Tech. Number 11, USC. And my G6 team is South Florida. Joe, I got to hop this one right into you right now. How in the good wide world do you have Texas Tech at number 5?
Okay, Blake, I don't think that this is a ridiculous premise to have. I know that you were incredibly worked up earlier when I sent this to you and Jack, and I sent over our rankings so that he could put together the graphics for this week. This is where I want to start this. I personally believe after the top 4 teams, I don't think that there's a right answer. I don't. And I think that it is wrong to state that there is a clear team in that grouping of the 5, 6, 7, 8, that there is a order that it has to go by. Because I think all of those teams have serious flaws. Texas Tech showed to me against BYU that when they're at full strength and they're at full capacity, that they are incredibly dominant. Hold on, I know. I don't want to hear the argument of BYU is not that good and us going down that route.
I mean, it's exactly what you said last night, but
they played a messy offense, but that's not what we're talking about here. Again, for the 100th time, we are not comparing resumes. If we have comparative data points where 2 teams played the same team, it allows for us to formulate arguments. If we saw weaknesses in certain games that should be a part of this argument, I am ranking the teams that I think are the best teams. Against BYU, Blake, Texas Tech dominated BYU physically. And I think that it is incredibly important in college football. We say this every preview, every show. Winning along the line of scrimmage is the most paramount aspect of having a quality team.
And let
me just finish here. I think that having David Bailey and Romello Height is a huge advantage. It's arguably the best pass rush, if not the second best in college football. In terms of the production that they've been able to produce, behind Texas A&M would probably be the number 1 out there, but Cassius Howe is kind of carrying most of the weight. But to my point here, to just finish this out, all those teams in that grouping are flawed. Georgia doesn't have a pass rush.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Dude, it applies. They have 11 sacks on the season.
And when Texas Tech got sacked by BYU 4 times in the first half, I really don't want to hear it.
They didn't allow any sacks in the second half. They didn't allow any. They've got go ahead. What are you going to go ahead? What do you have to say?
This has got to be one of the angriest I have ever been on this show at you. Now, I love the Red Raiders and I love Joey McGuire. I do. I love them to death. It's not about where that you have them ranked. It's about where you have them ranked and who you have them over. There's no way in blue hell that you look at Georgia. Oh, well, Blake, they don't have a pass rush. Well, I could say that Morton has not been healthy, and that when push comes to shove, I'm going with Gunnar Stockton.
That's fine, and that's their flaw for me. That is their flaw for me.
I also saw them go up against the best defensive statistically in the run was BYU, and them struggle. What happens when they do that against Georgia?
What do you mean they struggled on the ground?
Joe, they struggled in moments and times on the ground. They weren't
moments and times. They had 149 yards rushing.
Yeah. Okay. What happens against Georgia? They had long runs. They had a run of 43 in there. They had a run of 33 in there. So let's just say 40 and a 30-yard run. Half of those runs came on 2 rushes. Go look at the long runs. So sustained success was not there in the run game. It wasn't. And you're meaning to tell me that a offensive line that in the first half got pushed around by BYU in a lot of regards, that Georgia won't do it. You got to where me and you ultimately disagree the most is that we look at resumes and it not being accounted into this. And we're not going to get in that argument. However, Joe, how do you look at Texas Tech and look at what Georgia's been through and look at the things that Georgia has and say to yourself that Texas Tech has more than that? Morton is hurt. If you don't want to do resumes, if you don't want to do all of that, when it comes down to it, I don't know if he's going to be able to make the throws and make the plays that he needs to. And quite frankly, I'm going to rely and trust in Georgia, who's been through the adversity and has been through a lot of this shit to overcome that. I also have a problem with, I don't care that Notre Dame's got 2 losses. Joe, there's no way to me that you should have them ahead of Georgia, Ole Miss, Oregon, Notre Dame, or Texas. There's no way.
I definitely think that they should be ahead of Texas and Notre Dame. I definitely stand by that. I think that is overly critical, Blake, for Texas Tech to say that they should be that far down.
Joe,
I can understand us having the debate about, wait, hold on. I can understand us having the debate about Georgia being ahead of them, and it's to me, it's very close, which is my whole argument here, is that I think that all these teams in that grouping are flawed and they have issues. I think that the argument for Ole Miss being ahead of them is absolutely there, and it wouldn't be one that I would stand up here and put up a huge fit over, because I think that you could build that argument and we can have a sensible conversation. But Blake, I have one good football game for Texas in the past month where it felt like they really had control and they let Vanderbilt get back into the game. That is an issue that we have overlooked.
And Texas Tech hasn't played more than one ranked opponent to have that.
Okay, but Blake, this is where I always lose my mind when we have these conversations. I'm trying to assess these teams based on what I've watched and evaluating the talent on the field.
Okay,
I'm not trying to rank a team that's got 5 losses.
Okay,
in the top 5.
How do you assess them?
I assess them of having a top 2 pass rush in college football. What do you mean? Are you saying how I assess them? I use my eyes.
And you use your eyes based off of what? Meaning that they play the game.
Okay, wait. In the offseason, when the college football season ends, I shift my focus to the NFL draft. One of the key principles of evaluating draft prospects is not scouting the helmet, not scouting who they're playing up against. Is it valuable to have film of a player going up against another top prospect? Absolutely.
Name one that David Bailey's going up against. My point exactly.
I'm not going to. No. Okay. Ask me that. Wait. No. Stop. To ask me that question, then to me to be able to like randomly pull a Big 12 offensive line, I would need to. That is not a question I'm going to be able to answer.
Utah. You could have instantly gone to Utah. That, by the way,
So then you just gave an example. That's a very good point. They had a lot of success against Utah.
When the best team that he played, arguably in Utah, best offensive line, he was his least productive. What happens against Georgia? What happens against Oregon?
The Georgia offensive line has been against this. Can you let me finish with my point? My point that I was trying to make with this, Blake, is that when from a draft perspective, if I'm watching film and I'm evaluating film and I'm evaluating how teams are performing, I am making those assessments based on where I see talent, where I see flashes, where I see dominance. I see game-by-game dominance from their entire front seven. I see capable dominance from their offense when Barry Morton is at full strength and when he's healthy.
But he's not. So you keep saying— That's their
flaw, and I've agreed. That is their flaw.
You keep saying the word dominance, how they're dominating opponents, and you're telling me not to look at resume.
Blake,
Hold on. You can't.
Things don't have to be.
They are. Joe,
don't have to be directly related.
A Texas Tech goes out there and dominates an opponent. I have Georgia playing ranked opponents and getting in dogfights, and you're telling me that they're not related. You're going to have
two best teams in the Big 12 that they played, they smoked. What are you like? You're trying to make this argument they haven't played anybody.
You literally came out here last night and said BYU isn't a good football team.
I did. Doesn't mean that they're not a rankable team in the top 25 in the back end of the top 25. They can't help who they played. They can help dominating the best teams in their conference.
And neither can Georgia when Florida, when Penn State, with Indiana, when those teams are going against teams that are 3-6 and they have just as much talent as Texas Tech does. Because they do.
Say that again. I got distracted by comments in the chat.
When Florida and Penn State, who are 3-6, have the same level of talent that Texas Tech does from a draft. You talked about the draft. Does Penn State and Florida not have just as much draft prospects as Texas Tech does? Because the truth of the matter is they do. So their record on a singular day, their record does not matter.
Hold on. Well, wait. We need to qualify what you just said. The flaw with Penn State and Florida is that the talent that they had coming into the season did not develop and take the step that it needed to. Texas Tech did. Texas Tech has the core players that it
has against inferior opponents.
You're acting like that they're playing an FCS schedule. You're acting like they're playing an FCS schedule. That is what this is crazy.
They're not playing who Oregon's playing, and they're not playing who Georgia's playing. You got to admit that. And then when you say the word dominance, like, let me give an example. And I know that you're going to talk about this because I'm going to call you out on it. You had Oregon at number 5 last week. Now, you're probably going to say, hold on.
Well, yes.
You're probably going to say that I ranked the teams based off of where they're at right now.
No. Wait, hold on. Can you just let me explain myself really quickly here?
Damn it.
Well, you're trying to like pull information from me without like letting me explain myself.
Okay, but can I finish?
I start from scratch every single week. Go ahead.
Okay. You moved them after a ranked win on the road.
I didn't move them. I started from scratch. That's not how I operate.
Okay, then why are they below Texas Tech then? What did Oregon do on the road in the rain with injuries when they ran for almost 300 yards on a ranked opponent who you think is better than BYU? What did they do?
I believe that their flaw, as again, I have identified, I was trying to explain earlier what all these teams' flaws are. They're banged up right now. We talked about this in the preview. They're very banged up right now. I don't think that is a wrong criticism and concern to have. When are they getting guys back?
If Morton goes up against teams with athletes like Oregon and Georgia, he's going to get blasted. Because here's the truth. BYU does not have the dudes that Georgia, Oregon, or even Ole Miss does, and you don't want to admit that. If you mean to tell me that Kirby Smart is not going to send the same heat and do the same things BYU did to get to a statue, you're wrong.
Sure. Okay. A hobbled Baron Morton still put up 29 points. 29 points.
BYU couldn't get past the 50.
Like, this is my point.
They're one of the
reason. But why did they get past the 50? This was their worst offensive performance all year. A normally dominant rushing attack was held to 63 yards.
They weren't dominant in a lot of ways. The red zone, they were complete ass. Do you think that happens
their
against
offense was yeah, that's my point. Wait,
their offense wasn't dominant because when you get to the red zone 7 times and you got to kick 5 field goals, that's not dominating. That's whipping out your tallywhacker, pissing down your leg.
I didn't say that their offense was dominant. I said that their team collectively was dominant against BYU, and the way that they performed collectively, their defense carried the load. Banged up Baron Morton has been an issue for this team. If he's able to play, that implies that he's going to get healthy over the next few weeks. Guys can recover and get better. Right now, there are guys not on the field for Oregon, and I don't know when they're coming back. I mean, here's a perfect example of how this injury stuff, even though we get these injury reports every single week, they don't mean anything, is that right now we have Jermon McCoy was supposed to play, it felt like every single week. Every single week we heard that Jermon McCoy might be coming back, and he hasn't played a snap this season. Cam Rising, the same crap happened at Utah a couple years ago. I'm just trying to I don't want to hang too much.
What was the over-under that you thought on this show I was going to say the word tallywhacker?
I feel like you sneak something like that in every single show. So I'm not gonna act surprised.
I sneak in a little tallywhacker. Yeah, you're right. All right. I don't agree with you. I love Texas Tech. I do. I don't think they're number one, if you're going to ask me the truth, I don't think that they have better resumes than those teams that you have below them. Either you agree with me.
I don't care about resumes. I'm not making my decision based on resumes.
Okay, well, I do. Number two, I don't think that they're the better teams. I don't. Because until Texas Tech can prove to me that they can go up against one of these big boys and win, I'm going to have my skepticism. Do I think that they can do it? Here's the thing. Do I think that they can do it? Yes. But at the same time, there comes a little bit of inherent wealth in reference to, I think they're deeper, meaning Georgia. Oregon, I'll give you a little bit of I think Notre Dame's deeper than them. Pause. I think Notre Dame's got better athletes than them. I got to be real with you. I think they're also a little bit better coached. I think Ole Miss is a better coach staff than them. I don't know what this Texas Tech defense, who has not been tested defensively like a team against Ole Miss. I don't. Like, Joe, I look at Ole Miss and say to myself, if they can put up 35 points in 5 straight possessions against Georgia, what will they do to Texas Tech? People don't realize that Kwan Lacey is one of the best running backs in the entire country right now.
Wait. But Blake, my problem with that statement that you're making, you're asserting that Georgia's defense is good.
They are good. Joe.
They have 11 sacks. They had 8 coming into the game against Mississippi State.
Joe, you keep going to one statistic. Gunnar Stockton versus Morton.
Pass rush is so important in college football. Defensive line play is important in college football.
And let me tell you what the truth is. Texas Tech is going to go in the playoff and play one of these big team or SEC teams, and they're going to get their ass whooped. You want to place a bet on it? Because I'll go right now.
No, I strongly disagree with that. You are undervaluing the talent of David Bailey and Romello Heights.
Georgia pass rush, and all they do is win against ranked opponents. Name a team in the top 25 that deserves to fucking be there that Texas Tech has been. Where have they been? Joe, they lost to Arizona. They lost to Arizona State.
Blake, you spent all of last year talking about how the fact that Miami's defense kept allowing teams to hang around with them, that being a flaw for them. And it came to fruition.
They were 125th in the country in passing yards allowed.
The Georgia defense, statistically, in their pass defense is bad because they don't have a pass rush. This is a fatal flaw. This isn't like a little issue, whoopsie. No, this is a flaw. This is a problem. You can't get after the quarterback, Blake. You can't get into and win a shootout every single game. They lost to Alabama because Alabama beat them at that game. They got up too quick on them, and they trailed on them.
Georgia defensively, they're 20th in the country in total defense. They're 12th in the country in run defense. You're right. They have not been good in their secondary, even though they're getting better, but nobody wants to admit that. They're 58th in the country. They're 24th in the country in scoring defense. And they face 2 top 10 offenses in the country in Alabama and Ole Miss. Can Texas Tech say that?
Blake, this is where like you're basing your argument on who they've played. You're basing their argument on who they played.
You cannot keep coming out here and saying, I like Texas Tech.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, but it's a wrong take when you say, I look at their – it is. You can't say that I'm looking at the teams that they're dominating because they're in an inferior conference and then say, oh, well, Georgia, they're getting dogfights with ranked opponents. No shit.
I'm not criticizing them for getting into dogfights. I'm criticizing for the fact that their pass rush clearly is a problem for them because games that they should be handedly winning, they're allowing opponents to hang around with them.
And they keep winning with it. And you know who else keeps winning? With a massive flaw, Alabama that you have over Texas Tech who can't run the football.
I think that Alabama's no. Okay, can you well wait, hold on. Why is that a problem though? I have Alabama ahead of us.
Because it's a massive flaw. If they can't
it is absolutely a flaw. And there's no perfect team this year in college football. There's not. I don't want to hear the Ohio State take because they look incredibly dominant, but nobody is perfect this year. Nobody is ever perfect in college football. There have been like a handful of teams that have been perfect in the 100+ years that the sport has happened. So nobody's perfect. Blake, I do agree with you, but the thing is, not having a run game, their offensive approach is survivable. not having a run game in 2025 is not as dangerous as not having a pass rush
has been survivable because they're a top 12 defense.
It's 2025. You're playing against teams that have elite passing offenses, elite receivers. You can't give these. And this is a year where quarterback play has been elite.
Texas Tech does not have any player on their team not named David Bailey that's elite.
Romello Height is getting top 100 draft pick height.
That's not elite.
Absolutely.
Top 100's not elite.
You know how hard it is to get drafted in the top 100? That is a no. I'm not letting you take that one.
You said, hold on.
No.
You said the word elite. The guy behind me is elite. When you use the word
in
elite.
In the context of college football, that means he's a top 10 pass rusher.
Joe, how many busts in the top 100
rusher?
And how many busts in the top 100 happened this past year?
That's not elite. Ridiculous counter to this.
No, because we see guys that are recruiting in the top 100 that, they're a 5-star dude, and they're not really that good. Being a top 100 pick does not make you elite. Being dudes like the guy behind you makes me
Okay. Well, David Bailey is been producing as one of the best pass rushers in college football, and he is going to be picked in the top 10 picks.
Yeah, sure. I agree. But I said everyone not named David Bailey.
You don't.
I don't think he has I think they're going to fix it.
I think that we've been waiting weeks for them to fix it. You're distracting from the fact that I'm upset with what you did with Texas A&M. Can you bring it up? Can we bring this up?
Texas A&M, I've had him at number 2 for the last 3 weeks.
No, you didn't. You didn't have him at number 2 last week.
Yes, I did. I had him the week that they
Okay, so this is where I'm pissed off. I forgot that you did this. You moved Alabama up. Actually, I'm not even going to frame it like that. You have Alabama at 3 and you have Indiana at 4. Blake, I'm sorry. You can't do that with Indiana. You can't drop Indiana and put them there.
Why not?
Blake, they have a performance against Penn State, enduring injuries. No reason to win that game on the road in one of the hardest road environments in college football.
Interesting.
They march down and they win the game.
Interesting.
Fernando Mendoza pulls off something that most college football quarterbacks are incapable of doing.
Glad
there are maybe 5 guys that are capable of doing this. What is going to be your counter argument here?
So glad you asked. Fernando Mendoza's played a ranked opponent this year. He also played Penn State. I would say from a talent perspective, the best 2 teams that he's played has been Oregon. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And from a talent-only perspective would be Penn State. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
From just pure talent. So glad that you agree with that. He went 19 of 30 for 218 yards, an interception, and a touchdown. And against Penn State last week, he went 13 of 23 for 233 yards with a touchdown and an interception. Everyone keeps saying Fernando Mendoza. Well, the 2 best talented teams that he's played, he went 19 of 30 for 218, 1 touchdown and a pick. He went 13 of 23 for 233. Excuse me, that was not a 1, that was a 2. 2 touchdowns and an interception. And y'all keep coming out here every single week screaming Fernando Mendoza. I'm taking Ty Simpson.
Blake, go ahead. Go
ahead.
Over the course of the last 4 games, Ty Simpson hasn't thrown over 300 yards. He's had numerous fumbles. He has a game against South Carolina where he completed 55% of his passes. He completed 60.
How many drops?
I don't have that stat in front of me.
Okay, we'll pull it up.
That stat?
So glad you asked.
Did you even get that stat?
He had 4 drops against LSU last week. Want to know how many he had 5 against South Carolina. So you got 9 drops. Y'all keep coming out here talking about Fernando Mendoza. I'm going Ty Simpson, and I'm going that wide receiver core. I know that they have flaw in the running game. I get it. But for when Fernando Mendoza plays the more talented teams, he's not performing like I've seen Ty Simpson against the teams like Georgia. Sorry.
I think that you're kind of
he 1,000% had 4 drops against LSU. He had 3 of them on the same drive.
I think that you're overlooking. Look, I'm not trying to criticize either of these guys. I don't want to criticize Ty Simpson, but I don't think that there's been this vast separation of performance between the two of them.
It has when he's playing the bigger opponents, the more talented opponents. Joe, he's barely getting above 50% here. Y'all keep saying he's making big throws, and I agree with you. We look at the big throw at the end of the game that he got bailed out on, and I'm not going to hear anything else.
He didn't get bailed out on. This is what's like the way
he went just over 50% against him.
Blake, not every performance is perfect.
Name a bad game from Ty Simpson. You sit there on your computer.
Wait,
look, name one.
No. I'm pulling up. I just had it in front of me. I'm pulling up his game log.
Okay,
I just named to you the fact that over the course of this season, he hasn't had a bad like total meltdown game. He's got one interception on the year.
And I could say the Oregon game, when you throw a pick six in a critical moment and you're barely getting over 50%, it's not a great game.
I think to directly attack Fernando Mendoza as the reason why they need to be dropped to 4 is not a solid argument, because the rest of it, they have a more well-rounded team.
Okay,
Indiana has a more well-rounded team.
I thought that you would hate the Fernando Mendoza take. Joe, the best two talented teams that Indiana has played, has it been Oregon and Penn State?
You already asked me this question. You know the answer to it.
You had, in both of those games, when you look at them, they had 104 yards rushing against Iowa, and then they had 108 yards rushing against Penn State. So this dominating team, this absolutely dominating team that they keep saying that, so you're going up against a ranked opponent. I got a one-dimensional Oregon team that damn near ran the ball for 300 yards last week. I think Alabama has proven through the last 6 weeks against tougher opponents that they have hit a stride that Indiana doesn't feel like to me that they've hit. Against Iowa, against Penn State, the last couple of games, you haven't looked like the dominant team that everybody keeps trying to convince me that you are. But yet I keep looking the last 6 weeks over Alabama, and I'm like, all right, so they beat 4 ranked opponents. They played a really tough LSU defense this past week, and they just keep winning.
Blake, I'm not disrespecting Alabama for winning the way that they are, and I think that Alabama has easily, and Ty Simpson have performed at a very, very high level. The problem is that when we add the context of who they've faced in this period of time, they went up against a non-existent Tennessee defense that could literally do nothing. Ty Simpson only threw for 253 in that game. They went up against a bottom feeder South Carolina team that they should have dominated and closely won that one. And the LSU game should have been a much cleaner, more dominant victory. Like, my issue with Alabama is I feel like that there is less consistent dominance. I think, sorry, let me rephrase.
There goes
less balance.
Again.
There's less balance.
Well, you bring up.
I haven't. Wait, can you let me finish? The issue that I have here.
That's what she said.
Their inability to run the football in the context of the argument that we had earlier is very different. In the context of this specific argument, even when Indiana has had issues finding the same big explosive plays on the ground that they had in other games, they still have been able to grind out yards and to convert when they've needed to. They're still going over 100 yards. It's not a crazy big performance, but to be able to lean on your run game to produce in the small areas is how you win close games against tough opponents. They almost lost
Penn State because they couldn't run the ball.
I would argue that they lost to Penn State because they didn't have Elijah Surratt, and they became very, very one-dimensional.
In some of those
games, just like if Ryan Williams isn't on the field, you only have Jeremy Bernard to turn to.
That's what I was about to say. Some of those games that you're saying that they're not dominant in, you're saying the same thing for Indiana. They didn't have Surratt. Well, they didn't have Williams. And by the way, Ryan Williams is a better receiver. And then you brought up this really bad Tennessee team. Who's the number 1 team in the country in total offense? Who is the number 1 team in the country in total offense?
It shouldn't be Tennessee, but it's Tennessee.
Well, it is Tennessee.
Do you think? Wait, hold on. Do you think Tennessee's a good team? Do you think that Tennessee's a good team?
Over a good team? Yeah, I think they're a good team.
Do you think that their defense should be classified as a challenge?
No. I think their offense should. I think their offense, who has put up 500 yards per average through 9 weeks, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge. Sorry
Blake,
to tell you,
Blake.
but when you average 500 yards a game, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge.
You didn't let me finish what I was trying to say earlier. Look, good for them for playing against a mediocre, awful Tennessee team and putting up 37
Who else
points.
is Indiana playing against? You keep talking
Stop
about
asking me my resume. Can you let me finish what I'm trying to get to here?
And Alabama's playing Rudy Poos, and I'm asking you, who did Indiana play?
Tennessee shouldn't be ranked. Tennessee shouldn't be ranked. I hate this is like just using that as a solid performance.
Notre Dame shouldn't be ranked.
Notre Dame is 10 times better than Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a quarterback who turns the ball over and no secondary.
But you know what Notre Dame also has? Hold on. You know what Notre Dame also has? A losing
weight.
Hold on. You know what Notre Dame has? A losing record against top 10, 25 opponents. But this
is the problem with this whole resume shit. When we've watched the two teams, there's a difference between them when we watch and use our eyeballs to assess how different they looked.
And you know what?
Couldn't beat Oklahoma because they pissed down their leg.
All 3 of their losses come against top 12 opponents. Guess what Indiana hasn't done to date? Guess what they haven't done? Hold on.
You have completely lost me.
Hold on. What is Indiana and Notre Dame and all of these other teams, not named Tennessee? The losses don't bother me when you're losing to top 12 opponents. Was the game close? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was a 1-score game against Oklahoma, who's in the top 12. Oh, let's see. Was it a 1-score? Hold on. Hold on. Was it a 1-score game against Georgia and their kicker missed a field goal? Was it? I'm sorry how we forgot about that. But yet Notre Dame, oh, well, you know what? They only lost to a point by Texas A&M.
Like, this is my whole problem, though, is
Notre Dame doesn't
when you just look at the score and you just read the score off against said ranked team, sure, it sounds like a sound argument. They played like dog shit against Oklahoma. They gave up a million big plays. Joey Aguilar gave up so many dumb mistakes in that game.
And Notre Dame didn't?
No. Notre Dame has been far more fundamentally sound than Tennessee. This is where you're losing me. You can't compare
390 yards. And you're saying that they were fundamentally sound?
They have. You will sit here and prop up Texas A&M as being one of the most explosive offenses in college football.
They are. You know what else? Nothing I said about Tennessee is false. Not one word. Did they line up with 3 seconds left?
A lot of those things are false.
No, they're not. Did they line up with 3 seconds left on the clock to kick a field goal against Tennessee and miss it? Yes or no?
Did they give up a million yards as well?
I didn't answer. You keep asking me questions. I'm asking you to answer one of mine. Did they do that against Georgia? Yes or no?
Yes. Okay. You're naming a very specific.
Was it in the fourth quarter a 1-score game against Oklahoma? Yes or no?
You can't sit here and use I can't believe you're using Tennessee as your defense point. This is where we're lost here.
Here's the problem. You keep saying, Blake, stop talking about resumes. Sounds good. And then you look at Alabama. And hold on. I let you go here. You got to let me.
You really didn't let me go. You keep cutting me off. I had a talking point that I haven't gotten to 5 minutes ago that I have been trying to get to.
Because you know why? You know why I don't? Because you keep saying Alabama keeps beating shitty teams. And then when I say
that's not what I said. That didn't come out of my mouth. I was trying to set up a point and then you kept not letting me finish.
The exact words that you said is Tennessee's not a good team.
They're not a good team. They're a good team. They're a shit team.
And I asked you, then how is that a flaw against Alabama when Indiana's doing the same thing? And you're asking me to find separation. I'm asking you.
Blake, this is where we got down the rabbit hole. You didn't let me finish what I was trying to say earlier. I'm trying to set up the context, and then you kept taking us down like 10 different roads.
I'm muting myself.
Okay. I'm trying to point out the fact that it is a problem that they can't run the ball and they can't command and hold a lead. They can't. It's a problem. It is a problem that they can't get over 70 yards rushing in games. That's an issue. Look at who they've gone up against. Huh?
Who can't hold the lead?
Let me rephrase that.
Okay, thank you.
Running the football is important if you haven't established a lead. You need to be able to run the ball, slow the game down, close the game out. They have allowed LSU, you have South Carolina, games, and Missouri was another example of one of these performances. Georgia almost climbed back in that game as well. Games in which you needed to be able to run the ball to slow the game down and control the time of possession. That is an issue. I don't have Indiana having those problems.
Oregon.
Oregon?
Who literally got back in the game after a pick six. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Wait, that has nothing to do with what I just said to you.
You literally just said Alabama can't hold the lead. Yes or no?
Yes, I reframed it. No, I reframed it. I said Alabama can't run the ball to close out a game.
They can't close out games. You mean exactly like Indiana did when they had 104 yards rushing against Oregon and they couldn't close out the game after the pick six and then it's a one-score game and then it's a tie game. You mean the exact same way?
That's against the top 10 team and they still managed to close the game out.
That up. You said Alabama couldn't close out a game against Georgia. Where are they ranked? Thank you, Your Honor.
They're
Swish, and that's the game.
No, we can't. We have to get to the Miami NC State preview. But I don't think that counters what I just broke down.
Everything that you just said about Alabama is also equal to Indiana. Everything.
Indiana's a run game.
Everything.
Indiana has a run game.
They also have a quarterback in the two games against the best opponents. Pulled out his tallywhacker and said, "Oh my God, what is going on?"
He didn't piss down his leg. He played good secondaries. Not everyone's going to be perfect.
Sixes and interceptions in critical moments to give another team a lead or tie the game is pissing down your leg.
Putting together a game-winning drive is something that
got bailed out
99. He didn't get bailed out on 99% of quarterbacks in college football can't do.
I completely bailed out on it. He's lucky.
All right, let's get. We got to get to this preview.